kind of get through where they produce to, and then the supply curve for the perfectly competitive firm. There's shutdown and exit. There's some important exam stuff coming up here too. So let me go through this real fast, make sure everybody's kind of back up to speed. Okay, perfectly competitive markets are markets where you and I produce, we don't have any control over the price. It's a given. There's lots of buyers and sellers in the market. So you and I saying I'm not producing doesn't have an impact on the market, right? We can't control the price because there's so many buyers and sellers, and it's controlled. Not always, but mostly it's agricultural markets. You know, things like wheat and corn and tomatoes and pork bellies and stuff where the market, which is the Chicago mercantile market, which I think I mentioned in here, which is where it's a stock market for commodities. That's where the price comes from, and we just take it as given. And if we say, I'm not selling you any of my tomatoes for under $4 a bushel, then the wholesaler says, well, see you later, next. Because there's somebody right behind me with a truckload full of identical tomatoes, and they'll sell it for that price. Total revenue is price times quantity. Everybody should be okay with that. So price times quantity, if we're selling $6 per unit, and we sell 6 units, then 6 times 6, of course, is 36. Average revenue is just the total revenue, and it's kind of like a weird, it's like you get total revenue is price times quantity, and then average revenue is total revenue divided by output, right? So it's kind of like really the same thing, almost just a different way of looking at it. So price times quantity is equal to total revenue. Total revenue divided by output, which is, let's say, 6. If the price is $6, the average revenue again is $6. So it's kind of like this circular logic. Okay, so, and you definitely going to need to know that. Okay, so we have total revenue is price times quantity. Average revenue is total revenue divided by output. I see some folks writing. I don't want to cut anybody off. I think we've covered this, but I don't want to rush through it if people are still writing things down. Okay, and then there's some identities. We've covered this, and it's just, I think it helps to know this or look at this. Do you need me to go back? There was some folks writing. Do you want me to go back real quick? Sorry about that. But this truck that I have has what sold me on it. It's got seat coolers and heaters. Yeah. Like you can turn the cool up down to, it blows cool air through. Or hot air. So I haven't really used that yet. I got hot air up my ass. That's good. It's like you paired it with your iPhone, and it's the coolest stuff you've ever seen. You get in your truck, and you say, call Joe. Ring, 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 and you just start talking. It's crazy. It's got, like an iPad kind of built in. Not exactly, but, you can touch screen, yeah. It's crazy. It's like, I love this stuff. It's really crazy. I can start it from 1,000 feet away. I could probably start it from here. Get the cool air blowing on my seat up my ass, so when I get there, it's like... I'm sorry? Well, with everything, I traded in another truck, and so I think the ticket price on it was $63. I know. But then with the trade-in, out the door it was $45.
Is it brand new right here?
12. It's not like the new. They had newer models there that had newer bells and whistles, but I saved $5,000 and bought the year older. But it's it's the only car I have, so I might as well make it nice. Okay, good. Okay, so some identities. I know it's really circular, but hopefully it helps. Is you have the average revenue is total revenue divided by quantity. So if the total revenue is 36, and you sold 6 units at $6 per unit, total revenue is 36. Average revenue is total revenue 36 divided by quantity. So 36 divided by 6 equals 6. Total revenue, where it comes from, is price times quantity. Right? So total revenue is price times quantity. And according to this formula, then the quantities in this case will cancel each other out. So you're left with average revenue equal to the price. Right? For the math people, that's like, oh, it makes perfect sense. And for maybe people who are more social science, you know, it's a kind of an interesting application. I always like this for some reason. Okay, so average revenue is equal to price, and there's the identity that'll prove that. Marginal revenue is what you get for selling one more unit, which makes sense now that the marginal revenue is equal to the price also, because if I sell one more unit, the price is $6, my marginal revenue, of course, is $6. So, which leaves us with price equals average revenue is equal to marginal revenue in a competitive market. And that's important, because when we talk about, that's a nice linear identity, and so you have price equals average revenue equals marginal revenue in the PC, but in monopolies or not PCs, that's not necessarily true. So price is greater than, or is equal to average revenue greater than margin. We'll get to that later. It's not the same. And that gives rise to how they price in monopoly markets, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so everybody cool with that? Okay, and then for a competitive firm, marginal revenue equals the price. Is everybody cool with that? See where that's coming from? We sell one more unit, marginal revenue, which you get for selling that one more unit, is equal to the price, which is equal to the average revenue. Okay, so is everybody okay with this? Any questions? Everybody cool? See where it's all coming from? All right, and so here we have this situation where we sell 1 gallon of gas or milk or whatever it is. Okay, we sell 1 gallon. And then the price is $6, and that's driven by the market. Okay, our total revenue is just what we sell one unit at $6. Obviously, our total revenue is $6. Average revenue is total revenue divided by output, so 6 divided by 1. And then the marginal revenue is what we get for selling one more unit. So from 0 to 1 more unit, the revenue we get is equal to the price, which is $6. Okay, the next day comes along, we sell 2 units. The price is still $6. Total revenue is $12, 2 units times $6. Average revenue is 12 divided by units of output, 12 divided by 2 is 6. Marginal revenue, what we get for selling the second unit. Everybody cool with that?
The only
Yes, sir.
thing that goes up is just as the quantity goes up, the total revenue goes up. That's the only thing.
As you sell more and more, what's increasing is, yeah, you're right, total revenue. But the average revenue for the 7th unit is still going to be, 7 times 6 is 42. 42 divided by 7 is 6. And what you get for selling that 7th unit from 6 to 7 is $6. Okay? So everybody cool with that? Any questions? Okay. So the goal, like we talked about way in the beginning, the goal of the firm is to maximize profit. And so they maximize profit by finding the point where the difference between total revenue and total cost is the greatest. All right, and we talked about cost, a couple classes ago, where the cost bottoms out at the efficient scale, where average total and average variable cost intersect. Remember that? Where they intersect is where average total cost bottoms out. So that we know where the total cost curve bottoms out. Okay, so we have that part of the formula. And then what we do is we find the point where the total revenue is as far away from the total cost as we can get it. Make sense? And how do we determine that? Well, it's actually pretty easy, because we know what our costs are, we know what our revenue is, we just find the point where they're the furthest apart. And how do we do that? Pretty simple. Everybody good? And this is where we left off-ish? Okay, it looks awful and hideous, but it's really not that big a deal. Okay, so we sell 0 units. 0 units of milk, all right? The total revenue is 0. Our total cost is $3. And I know we talked about this. It's coming back to me. What does that total cost represent if we sold nothing?
Fixed cost.
Fixed cost, right? It's what it costs to rent the booth or whatever. Where we sell 0, it's $3. We sell 100, it's still $3. Okay, so our total cost is $3, which in this case is represented by just fixed costs. Our profit is 0 because we didn't sell anything, and then we have no marginal revenue, cost, or profit. There's just nothing there. Okay, the next day we sell 1 gallon, total revenue is $6. It's relegated by the price of $6, total revenue is $6. Our total cost is now $5. Difference between 3 and 5, obviously $2. What's that made up of? If it goes from $3 to $5 and we sell 1 unit, what's that $2 made up of?
Variable cost.
Variable cost, right? So our cost to produce 1 unit is $2. And that shows up over here. I mean, it's also marginal cost in this case. When you get to monopoly, they're not exactly the same. I'll explain that later. All right, so to produce 1 unit, we have a $3 worth of fixed cost back here somewhere. When we make 1 unit, it costs us $2. So our total cost goes up to 5. Marginal cost is $2. All right, we sell that unit, and the revenue for selling unit number 1, marginal revenue equal to price equal to average revenue is $6. Make sense? Cost us $2, we made $6. Clear? Everybody cool? Okay, so as we start to produce more, oh, and then the change in profit here is $4, which is just the profit here. You can see it going up, up, up. And it tops out up here, but we have a -3 because we have $3 in fixed cost. We sell nothing. We have 0 revenue. All right, and so our profit is nothing. We didn't make any profit, but our first unit, we go from -3 to 1, so our change in profit is $4. Does that make sense? -3 to 1, $4. Everybody okay with that? As students get a little bit lost there. Is that cool? Everybody understand? Good? Good? Okay, so the next day we come in, we sell 2 units. Our total revenue is $12, which is just 6 times 2. All right, our total cost is now $8. So we have variable cost or marginal cost of $3. It goes from 5 to 8. And that shows up over here. Sorry. Make sense? So it cost us $3, and how much did we make for the second unit? 6, which is going to be consistent. Make sense? Everybody with me? Okay, so we produce away, and as we produce more and more units, each unit is costing us more and more. What's causing that increase in cost as we produce more and more? What's that called? Diminishing marginal product, right? And somebody in the sentence tell me what that is. Just layman's terms.
Running into each other.
Yeah, but workers are bumping into each other. So I have to wait for you to pull the pizza out of the oven or to sell this milk to the customer before I can step up and sell it. Right? Okay. So as I produce more and more units, my marginal cost is increasing. Right? My profit is increasing each time I sell another one, but it's increasing at a decreasing rate due to the fact that my cost is rising. And my revenue for each unit that I sell is consistent. So it's $6, $6, $6, $6. My cost is increasing, it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at some point, whatever number this is, at 5, my marginal cost and my marginal revenue are equal to each other. All right? So what have I maximized there?
Your profit.
Well, yes, that's true, but what if there's something in a competitive firm, if you go back to total revenue, remember, what's total revenue?
Total revenue is the selling price times the quantity
Price
sold.
times quantity. What do I not have control over?
Quantity, or price?
Price, right, given by the market. So what do I have control over is quantity, right? So the only thing I control is quantity. And if I increase my output to where price, marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal, what have I maximized?
Efficiency?
Q. I've maximized quantity. You see what I'm saying? I've gotten my quantity as high as I can. If I go 1 more unit, what's the marginal cost of 1 more unit?
More than what's
Well,
worth?
that's right. So I go to 6 units. How much does it cost me to make that?
$7.
How much am I making? Yeah, the marginal revenue is identical. It's
You're
still
losing
$6,
$1.
$6. It cost me $7 to make the 6th unit, I believe,
You're losing $1.
right? And so it cost me $7 to produce it because marginal cost is increasing, at an increasing rate due to diminishing marginal product. Okay, so if I get to 7 units, bigger part of 6 units, the cost is $7, and what does that do to my profit? Now it's eating away at it because the cost is exceeding the revenue. Make sense? Everybody with me? All right, so I increase until marginal revenue, marginal costs are equal, and then I've maximized my Q. my quantity is as high as I can make it. If I produce one more unit, I'm gonna start eating away at my profit because the cost is exceeding the revenue. Make sense? All right, so, and let me give you, I would jot this down. The goal of the firm is to maximize profit, right? That's what we talked about. The goal of the firm is to maximize profit, right? There's a question on the exam that says the goal of the firm is to maximize profit. That's the answer. But it's tricky because you'll look at this and you'll say, well, if you're not, especially if you don't understand it very well, what's going up here is my total revenue. You'll say, well, total revenue keeps going up forever. I might as well just produce, in this case, 8 because my total revenue is way up to 48. Right? But the problem is that the cost of that 8th unit is $9 and it's eating away at my total profit. Does that make sense? Any questions about this? Everybody feel pretty comfortable with it? Let's see how comfortable you are. How come I don't, let me see, why don't I stop at 4? If my total cost is $5 and my total revenue is $6, how do I know? I mean, what inspires me to produce that 5th unit if my total increase in profit equals 0? Right? Why don't I stop at 4 instead of 5? Is there any logic that you can think of? Yeah.
There could be one more buyer.
Perfect. And what you're doing is you're capturing, because your goal is to maximize Q, right? And what you're doing is if you make that 5th unit, you're capturing that, it goes from $1 down to 0, you're capturing that 75 cents and the 50 cents and the 25 cents and the 10, 9, 8, 7. You're capturing that very last penny profit. Make sense? To where that last unit that you produced, the cost was just equal to what we made on it. And that way we know we're maximizing our Q. And that's all we have control over in a competitive industry. Does that make sense? Everybody okay? We'll talk more about it. We'll come back to it again. And does everybody sort of have a sense of it? Everybody okay? So what's the goal? Maximize profit. Where do you produce? Well, marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal. What's increasing? Marginal cost. Why? Diminishing marginal product. Everybody could explain where total revenue comes from. Price times quantity. Average revenue, quantity divided by output. Marginal revenue, what you get for selling one more unit. You produce to where marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal because you're capturing that last 75, 50, 25, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 cents. And you capture that last penny and you maximize your Q. Make sense? Everybody okay with that? Okay.
Draw a graph like that.
It's not as bad as it looks.
Like we all had it until
I
just now.
thought I had it. No, here we go. It's really not that bad. And it's just putting them together. We did the average total cost curve, average variable cost curve. We know all this stuff. We have, it's not on here, but the average fixed cost curve is coming down and it slows down and it goes out like this, down lower and lower. Yeah, everybody kind of remember that. Okay, so my marginal cost is increasing at an increasing rate due to diminishing marginal product, right? So it's $2, $4, that's my job. My price is equal to average revenue equal to marginal revenue, and we know that's $6, right? So price equal to average equal to marginal revenue. $6, $6, $6. So I'm gonna, and the only thing I'm interested in, because I don't have control over the price, is the quantity. That's all I have control over. So I'm gonna increase, and every time I increase, my marginal cost goes up, right? I increase until my marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal to each other, okay? Everybody cool? And so I start producing, and my marginal cost is $2, and my marginal cost is 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. And when I reach 6, then my marginal cost and my price, average revenue, marginal revenue are equal to each other, and I've maximized my Q. If I go one more unit, then what happens is my marginal cost starts to exceed my average, my price, AR, MR, starts to exceed it, so I'm starting to lose money. Well, the next unit cost me $1, and after that cost me 2, and so forth, right? Okay. I don't know if there's anything left to say there. I mean, I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, I don't know what else, there's a lot more to say. I think that's pretty much it. Everybody okay with it? Everybody good? Going once. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of problem are you be asking? Are you gonna be asking like if the marginal cost is like $3, what is the other cost?
Well, kind of going from memory here, but I know there's a question that says something like, where does the firm, the profit maximizing, perfectly competitive firm, where do they produce? And the answer is where marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal to each other.
So it would be at that point.
That point where they intersect there. Marginal revenue is increasing at an increasing rate because of diminishing marginal product. We know about these curves. I mean, these cost curves we've talked about already. I mean, you know, average total cost is just the culmination or the summation of average fixed and average variable cost. There is no average fixed cost curve here, but if it was here, the alignment comes down and is decreasing, and then eventually will intersect with average variable cost, which is increasing at an increasing rate. Where they intersect is where the average total cost curve bottoms. There's a little bit, it's just giving me room to talk about it, and I'll get to it eventually. Notice that where the average total cost curve bottoms out right there, for this industry, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, but this industry, the price is above where average total cost bottoms out. And the reason is because that's a profitable industry. And give me a few more slides to talk about that. If you're thinking, well, wait a second, you just said you're going to try to produce where average total cost is as far away from your average revenue, or your total revenue, excuse me, that this doesn't seem to mesh up. Wouldn't this dot be right there? And that's true, but we're talking, that's a profitable industry. Give me a few minutes to talk about that.
Well, you would want your total cost to be a lot lower than your revenue, wouldn't you? Because then that would create a bigger margin of profit.
Say that again? Sorry.
I don't know if I can.
Okay. No. Actually, it's not sexy. I know. It's like, I'm not buying you a Porsche.
Well, like if the cost is really low and your price that you're charging is really high, that creates a wider profit margin.
Right.
Yeah, so you'd want it to be low.
Right.
Are you drinking beer?
Yeah.
That looks like Keystone. Okay, never mind. I was like, whoa. Sorry. Bought myself a truck, going to get a Keystone.
This is how you end your job in 1 second.
I'm sorry, I'm tired.
I love this class, man. It's so chill, man. I got the little mountain that's dark blue. It means it's super cold. Or is that?
That's
Yeah,
course.
go ahead. Sorry to.
But no, I'm just kind of clarifying, I guess, that like if the total cost is really low, like if, you know, you're buying something for $2 wholesale and then you're selling it for $6, that's a pretty, you know, that's what, 300%
We're
margin?
going to talk about that. Yeah, you're on the right track.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going to get into that differential. We're going to talk about
okay.
Could you maybe go back to the last slide?
Sure.
Like the table thing?
It looks like you threw yarn on it.
On the far left, like the quantity sold or just the quantity produced?
That's the quantity sold.
So why would like the profit go down if you're selling more? I don't understand why you wouldn't like leave profit off of, like why would you want to stop at 4 if you can like sell 8? You know, I don't know why the profit.
Fantastic. I'm glad you asked. It's really great. Okay, so let me repeat what you said, and let's try to figure out where that's coming from. So, and let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Okay, is that the question is this quantity sold, right, or produced, and it's quantity sold, or well, you can probably say both, really, but it's the quantity that we sell. Okay. Now the question, and tell me if I'm getting this right, is that you said why would you stop at 5? Well, you said 4, but 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you stop at 5 when you could sell 6, 7, or 8, and your total revenue is increasing still?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Great question. Really great question. Now let's back up and make sure that we're clear on a couple of things. The marginal revenue. Tell me what that is. Do you understand what marginal revenue is?
That's like the change in the total revenue based on like.
Selling. Yeah, you got it. Okay, so you sell one more unit, your total revenue goes up by another $6, equal to the price, right? Because you sell one more unit, the price is $6, so my marginal revenue is $6, $6. All right. Marginal cost, as you sell sell more units or make and sell more units, the marginal cost curve is increasing at an increasing rate. Okay, so as you make another unit, the marginal cost curve is going up, or the marginal cost curve is increasing at an increasing rate. Why is that happening?
Why can you say that again?
Sure.
Why is the...
So okay, we're talking about this curve right here, okay?
Yeah.
All right, so to make one unit in terms of extra cost, how much does it cost you to make one unit? We're talking about this curve right here. Yeah, $2, right? How much does it cost you to make a third unit? Yeah, you actually, I even misspoke it, you still got it. Yeah, so it's $4 to make a third. How much to make a fourth unit?
5,
How much to make a sixth unit? Fifth unit, sorry.
6.
Right. Each time I sell another unit, how much more money am I making? If I sell 2 units, for the second unit, how much more do I get? Right here. How much more do I get for selling the second unit? $6, right? Yeah, because the price is $6, I get $6 for selling the second unit.
Okay.
For selling the third unit, I get another $6. For selling the fourth unit, I get another $6, right?
Yeah.
And as we just talked about, to sell the second unit, it cost me 2 to make it and sell it. To sell the third unit, it costs, or second unit costs me 3, and then 4, and then 5. So each time I produce another unit, it costs me more and more money
Okay.
because of diminishing marginal product.
Okay.
So I keep increasing the number that I'm producing and selling until that number is equal to the revenue that I'm getting. Because, see, for me to sell, like, just say the second unit, it costs me an additional $3, right? And I'm getting $6. Then to sell the next unit, it costs me an additional $4, and I'm getting $6. And then it costs me $5, and I'm getting $6. Then it costs me $6, and I'm getting $6.
Okay.
If I was to produce one more unit, how much? If I was to produce a sixth, let me make sure I got that lined up. Yeah, the sixth unit, how much does it cost me?
$7.
How much am I getting?
$1 less.
How much am I getting for that? It
That's
cost me,
$6.
yeah, it cost me 7 to make it, but I only get 6 to sell it,
Okay.
right? And so do I want to sell a sixth unit? No, because it's starting to eat away at my total profit, right?
That makes sense.
Good. It was a great question. I'm glad you asked it. Thank you for doing that. So, and now here's what we just looked at, except graphically. And that is that what we're talking about is, here's $2, $3, $4, $5, $6. Oops. $6. And then that's, if I was to make the sixth unit, it cost me $7. So that puts me up here, right? And so my marginal cost is exceeding my marginal revenue. So I don't want to produce that sixth unit. I only want to make, or is it 6? Yeah, I don't want to make 6 unit. I only want to make 5, because that's where my marginal cost and my marginal revenue intersect. And to produce one more costs me $7, but I only get 6. Good? I'm glad you asked it. Great question. Great question. Everybody understand? All right. Just trust me, write that down. That's actually the question you just asked. Okay, so a competitive firm, a profit maximizing firm, produces where marginal revenue, marginal cost are equal, right? Because they're selling as many units as they can possibly sell. And that's what they have control over, is Q, not P. What time is it?
20 after.
20? 10:20?
Yes.
And this is an exam question. And then, you know, on the exam, it'll say something like, you know, a competitive firm will produce where price is greater than, a price is equal to, a price is less than, or a price is not relevant to. What marginal revenue is equal to, less than, greater than, or not relevant to the marginal cost. Something along those lines. Here. At 10:20 in the morning.
I know, it just weirded me out. I saw the blue and I was just like,
How to end your job in one.
I know. Seriously.
You ever known anybody get fired in 1 second? I know how to do it. We have some, oh, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff the instructors have gone through here. It's amazing. Well, I should say what they've done, what the students have done. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You guys all get together.
What's that?
You guys all get together and talk about it.
No, it's more along the lines of, well, you know, and rightfully so. I mean, I encourage you guys. If you have an instructor that's being disrespectful of you, you know, doing something that's not cool at all, you have every right, and I support that entirely, to go to the boss and say, hey, you know, this guy did something that was not cool. And you'd be surprised what some of the stuff is that goes on. It's amazing, you know. I mean, it goes both ways for sure, but it's amazing. But again, I mean, if you ever feel disrespected in class, I encourage you to go.
I'm saying, how do you know about all these?
Oh, good question. Because I'm
You
actually,
obviously talk about it. Like,
yeah, I'm the union steward. I'm the guy that if there's a problem between an instructor and the administration, they call me. Because I'm the guy that goes in and represents the instructor.
What if it's about you?
Then I'm in trouble. Hey, he did something. You wouldn't believe what he did in class.
Oh, that can't be true.
Yeah. I wasn't even there. I was drinking beer. I wasn't even there.
So you have to represent yourself?
No, I would get somebody else, you know. If something, heaven forbid, something ever happened where a student said, boy, he cursed at me or did something really, you know, something terrible, I would go in, and rightfully so. The students would say, hey, he was uncool. And then I would get a representative from the union who's like my second, you know, person, or in the steward business.
What about, he smashed my cell phone.
Yeah, I'm totally
I'd say
still
I
pissed
did.
about that.
I have it on video too. Actually,
Can
it kind of
students,
got famous, but now all the students know about it. So I'm to the point where next semester, well, this semester even largely, I was snapping the phones and everybody in the class was going, that was nice. You know, watch your eyes, be careful, don't get anything in your eye. Because everybody knows about it.
Blenders that blend anything.
Yeah.
Blender and throw it in the blender.
That's just great. That's a great idea.
Just make it a little bit more long. Just break it.
in situations like that, do you have like the opportunity to have other students come in and like defend you?
And 9 out of 10 times, I mean, not to say that people are perfect, you know, I know, and you know, sometimes things happen. I mean, it just is. But I think that most of the time, really most of the time, it's just a misinterpretation of how somebody said it and then how they took it. And you can sort of see both sides of it, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you said this, but in the student's eyes, you know, he said really the exact same thing, but this is how I took it. And the instructor's saying, well, I did say that, but this is what I meant. You know what I mean? And generally, it's like, oh, well, it's all good, you know.
Yeah.
What if the teacher keeps doing like the same thing that if like someone goes to the whoever about it and then he does it again? Or she?
Well, okay, so I don't tell me because I don't want to know, but we're like, say the instructor, I'm just making this up. Say they curse at you. They say, oh no, damn it, you're nuts or something like that.
Ouch.
And they say it over and over again, and it starts to like, God, you know, maybe I'm a little crazy. You know, that hurts me deeply. And you've gone to and they've gone to the boss and reported it. Yet the instructor continues to do it. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
I would go back. I would go back to the boss, go back to the dean, and say, hey, I've brought this up, and you know, evidently there's a misunderstanding that isn't being reconciled.
Well, what if the teacher has tenure?
It doesn't matter. I'm not encouraging you guys to take them out.
We're all
of the
taking
meeting.
notes. People fired. Awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, tenure is what it is. I mean, tenure means. Do you guys know what tenure is? Yeah. Tenure, and do you know why they give tenure? This is like the class of many topics. And how to buy a car and why tenure is important. Do you know why they give tenure? Do you know the point? Anybody?
No.
No. Actually, here's what it is, and this is interesting. I mean, maybe if you don't know, it's interesting. Is that tenure is for instructors that have been around, you know, generally 5, 6, whatever, you know, a few years, And what they do is tenure just means that you're part of the club. You've been accepted into the gang and now you're part of the club, right? And they grant tenure and it just makes it so that your job is stable. You're not an at-will employee anymore. They can't just come in and say, we fire you today because we don't like you, which they can do to the contract people. That's how when I got tenure, I did the same. Why they give tenure, okay? Are you okay?
I can tell how red she is from the back of her neck. Seriously. Oh, wow. That was awesome.
This is why they give tenure. It's because they want instructors to feel, they don't want them to always be worried and looking over their shoulder that, boy, if I say the wrong thing in class, if I say the wrong thing in class, a student is going to go report it to my boss and I'm done, I'm cooked. And when you get tenure, then the idea is that I can start to take chances. And I can start to try new things educationally where, I can start to, be more cutting edge and say things and not necessarily worry about if a student gets offended by it. Never to attack a student or anything like that, but to be able to say, here's a concept that is kind of more controversial. And I feel okay about talking about it and don't worry if a student says, well, he went and talked about, the fact that Obama is blah, blah, blah. And then I don't have to worry about a student complaining about the topic matter. And I'm more able to be an influential instructor.
You don't have to do everything by that book.
Well, you're right. And if a student complains about me for saying something in class that was a little weird or, boy, he sure said something that was really controversial and I didn't agree with that I don't have to worry so much about that. But if I'm a first-year instructor, they truly do have to worry about that. A student said, boy, you said something really not cool, and that could mean their job. Yeah.
It kind of works the other way too, where you could be almost lazy and not try, and then you won't.
I wish I could say, oh no, but you're right. And I think, and I would never. I think that instructors, and I hope you guys will ever tell me if I get this way, but I think instructors get kind of complacent, and they don't really give a shit
They
anymore.
do all the evaluations and stuff, and if students complain enough, does it really matter significantly if they have tenure, if they have a consistent complaint about being lazy and taking advantage of that position?
It does, and I encourage you, if you ever have a problem like that, as a group, or maybe you and your colleagues, or it's important that you feel safe and like there would be absolutely no remediation back at you if you went in and said, boy, this instructor said something kind of insulting or isn't really teaching me anything, or, you know what I mean? You're paying for the service, and you bet if my cup of coffee is no good, I'm going to take it back. And it's the same principle, It's like, this isn't right. I paid for it and I want it right. Yeah.
So if they grant tenure to teachers so they'll be more like that, why wouldn't they want them to be more like that from the beginning?
Well, because, when you start a new job, you're definitely, you're trying to
Probationary
do everything
period.
right. And the idea is that for 4 or 5 years, you want instructors to be learning how to be good teachers. And you want them to focus on, good curriculum and
Well, you kind of have to
consistent.
know the curriculum and how to do it right before you can branch off and grow with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now that you get tenure, now I can say in class, oh, well, but here's a case where even though it's not politically correct, let me just tell you, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have to necessarily worry about a student saying, boy, he sure said something that was really odd in class, you know what I mean? Plus, you get to drink beer.
Wild horse.
I'm kidding. You don't. But yeah, if you ever have any problems, please, I encourage you, go talk to the dean. Tell them about there's a forum, and if the if the instructor gets called into the office, I'm the guy that goes in and says, "Why are we here?" What do they do? Anyway, okay, so back to the internet. You learned a lot today, huh? How to buy a truck. Yeah, tenure, beer in class. Yeah. how I'm gonna complain about you. Okay, so let's back to class. I've got stuff to do here. What are we looking at? 10:30-ish?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get through this. Okay, so if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, then you increase your output. Alright, so marginal revenue, greater than marginal cost, sorry about that. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, so your marginal cost is 2, 3, somewhere in there, and your marginal revenue is $6, you're going to increase your output. Marginal revenue is $2, meaning, due to diminishing marginal product, I increase my output, and then it cost me $3. Still below marginal revenue, I increase it again, now $4, now $5, right? So I increase my marginal revenue until it equals marginal cost. Increase my marginal cost until it equals marginal revenue, sorry, did it backwards. Then, if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, then I decrease my output. That's up into that 7, where it's costing me $7 to make the next unit, then I should decrease my output because the cost is exceeding the revenue that I'm generating from the next unit. That make sense? And then you produce it as a perfectly competitive firm, you produce up to where marginal revenue and marginal costs are equal. And that's exam 101, and there's at least a couple of exam questions about that. Good? Okay, now kind of changing the subject a little bit, some terminology. I want to get through this today. So is everybody okay? Everybody cool with that? Okay, so this is what we just talked about. Whoops, sorry. So the marginal cost, you increase marginal cost up until it is equal to marginal revenue. The marginal cost curve is also equal to the supply curve, and give me a minute to talk about that, okay? So it's actually your supply curve, and I'll relate that back in just a second. Okay, so there's a couple of things we need to talk about here. You just write these down. These are on the pen. Okay, so we have two situations here. There's a shutdown. Firms do shutdowns when, I don't know if I should go in, I think I might as well just give it to you all and then we'll talk about it. All right, firms shut down when their operations aren't paying for their variable cost. I'll explain all that in a second. All right, so the definition here is a shutdown is when you don't produce anything for a while because you're not paying for your variable cost. And it says due to current market conditions, it's about variable cost. I'll explain that in a second. Right? A firm exits the market for good when operation doesn't pay for total cost. I'll explain all that in a minute. All right. So, when a firm is closed,
Sorry.
and think about a firm that's open seasonally. There's a great example, and I never get it right, but
Snowboarding? Mount Shasta Ski Park?
no, I never get it right. But your examples are right. But I like my example, which is right up here. Slippery slide, or what's it?
Waterworks Park? Slippery slide?
This is what came to mind. Waterworld?
Waterworks. Waterworks.
You work in the water. Waterworks.
Waterworld. Is Waterworld open right now?
Waterworks.
Waterworks.
No.
Are they still in business?
Yes.
Are they paying variable costs?
No.
Yes. They still have people that work there in the off season.
Okay, but really, are there the people who work there in the off season? How many customers did they have today? So is that a variable or a fixed cost?
Fixed.
Fixed cost, because security or
Yeah. They're not paying the
just somebody
lifeguards
to
and
kind
things
of
like
keep
that.
pumps from freezing or whatever
Yeah.
they do. Is that's actually a fixed cost, right?
Because
Because whether or not
guaranteed
they
each
have
day.
any output at all, they still have that security person.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so is Water World open today? No. Works. Works open today? No.
No.
Do they have, or is the business still open?
Yes.
Obviously. What are they paying? Fixed costs, but
Fixed
not,
costs, not very.
not variable costs, right? So they're, I'm sorry.
Question.
Yeah.
People buy season passes like starting before the season actually goes.
Right. So, what he said is people buy season passes at Waterworks before the season, okay?
Yeah.
And,
But is that considered a, because you're paying for it, but you're not actually going yet? Does that count as a?
It's not a cost to the
or is
business.
that fixed?
well, that's a great question. And I would say that's just that's a good question. That's kind of, in my opinion, it's like buying a season pass at a ski area. It's a crapshoot. And you may get a deal on buying the season pass at Waterworks, but next year may be really rainy, and so you may not get to go very often. But the year after that, you buy the season pass and you go a million times. So it's a kind of a crapshoot, And that's a great. I like the tie together you're doing there. We'll kind of get into that a little bit more in terms of the revenue, about sunk revenue, and we'll talk more about that. Okay. A firm considers these are more definitions. Some costs are costs that you can't recover. So we have exit and shutdown. An exit is getting out of the industry when, in the long run, you can't pay your total costs. A shutdown is when you close your business because you're not generating enough revenue to pay for your variable costs. So we would never, at Waterworks, we would never hire staff to man, the top of the Terminator slide or whatever. We would never hire somebody to do that because there's no customers coming in, and the customers coming in, since there's zero, there's no revenue being driven to pay for that variable cost. So we close our door. Make sense? We don't hire variable cost, or we don't incur variable cost, and then we just shut our business down. We exit the industry when, in the long run, we don't make enough money to pay our total costs. All right, we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then we have, lastly, sunk costs. Sunk costs are just costs that you can't recover when you sell your business. And think of it this way. If I buy let's say I buy a pizza place, and part of my sunk costs will be, and it's kind of, they're pretty similar to fixed costs, but not exactly the same thing, because a fixed cost, for example, a building. I pay rent on my building or a mortgage on my building every single month, whether or not I do any business. But when I sell my business, I recover the fixed cost. So that's the easiest way to remember it. A sunk cost is a cost that I can't recover. And the best example of that, for me anyway, is when I open Anthony's Kick-Ass Pizza Joint. That sounds pretty good to me. And there's a big sign that says Anthony's Kick-Ass Pizza Joint. And when I go out of business because nobody wants to come to I don't want pizza that kicks them out. But nobody comes to my business. When I sell the pizza place, I sell the fixed costs, the ovens and the building, and I sell all that stuff. But the buyer isn't interested in the sign, sunk cost. They don't care about Anthony's Pizza Place. They don't care about that. So that I just take my sign with me. I never recover it. Make sense?
Did you consider returned items as sunk cost?
She said, could you consider returned items as sunk costs? Like, give me an example.
Like clothing.
Okay, so.
Clothing and, well, you obviously can't resell it because something's wrong with it, but you've already paid for it.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Like say you have a shirt or something where the hem is wrong or something like that, and you buy it from the wholesaler, and then you realize that it's something wrong with it, and you can't recover the cost somehow. Yeah.
A lot of times you can return them to the company though.
Like a specific example, I can use a somebody buys something and they go and they wear it and they come to return it, but it reeks. And you can't tell them as a worker, we can't resell it.
Yeah, I got you.
It,
So that would,
I mean,
yeah.
you consider that like a sunk cost.
That works.
But that could happen with anything.
Yeah, that works. I understand. That kind of works. I like that. Yeah, and it's kind of an off example, but I think it works. You can't recover it. So in terms of the definition. All right. So we have exam 2 slotted for a week and 2 days from now, and when we come back, we're going to finish off.